Hello everyone, welcome to another video on code.org programming. I hope you are enjoying your app designing in the app lab on code.org. So in my last video, I explained that how you can use different components, how you can use the code window. And now I'm back today with another tutorial. And in this video, we are going to learn how we can use the mathematical operators which are in code.org app lab, how we can get the properties from the components, how we can set the properties into the components, okay, how we can do some mathematical calculation. I'm designing a tip calculator application in which you calculate how much amount of tip you want to offer to the waiters in the restaurant. Okay, so let's jump into the code.org and start building this application. As you can see that the interface of the application is very simple. You have some labels, so tip calculator, enter build amount, enter tip percentage, total tip amount. All these are the labels. And these two are the text boxes in which you can see a placeholder text, which is build amount and tip percentage. If I want the user of my application to type something, to give me some input, then we use text boxes. But if I just want to provide some information to the user, or I want to display something to the user, then we use labels. Okay, so this is one design principle to keep in mind when to use the text boxes and when to use the label. Okay, so let me run this application and see how this thing is working. So let's say after I finished my lunch at a restaurant, my build amount is 200,000 Indonesian rupiah, and I'm very happy with the services of the people here. So I want to offer them 10% of the tip of my build amount. And after giving these two inputs, when I click on the calculate total amount button, you can see it's showing me that my total tip amount is 20,000 rupiah, which is 10,000 of 10% of 200,000. And the total amount of money that I have to take out from my pocket is 220,000 rupiah. So a very simple application, nothing complicated here. So let me first explain you the design. So you need to add one label here. So you click on the design view, which will bring all the components, all the tools in front of us. And then you drag one label and then type tip calculator into this label. And as you can see, I have changed the color and the size of this label. So you can also do the same by modifying these properties from this part of the window. So this is where you can type the text for this, which is the tip calculator in my case. And then I have selected a text color. So if you click on this button, it will bring up a color selector for you, from where you can pick the color of your choice. And after that, this is where you can increase or decrease the size of the text by adjusting the font size. And right now the text alignment is left. So if you want, you can just choose center from here and it will just centralize your text in the middle of the label. So just modify all these settings. I'm not setting a border here because I don't want a border to appear around my text. But the other two labels that I have added, this is also a label in which I'm going to display the tip amount, and then this second one is also a label in which I'm going to display the total amount. Now I have used labels because I'm not taking any input from the user, I'm just showing some information. But as you can see that on these labels, a very thin border is visible. So if you click on this label and check the properties, the border width of these labels is 1. Okay, so this label also has a border width of 1, and this label also, while the other labels, for example, tip calculator, the width of the border is 0, which means the border is not going to be visible at all. Okay, so that's all the designing, and this is the button. You use this tool for adding the button to your application, and then modify the background color, modify the text size. Okay, font size I have taken 15 here. You can even change the font if you like. Okay, so I'm just using the Arial Black, the default one. Okay, so that's all about the design of this application. Now let's go to the coding part. So if you click on the code tab here, it will show you the code for this application. Okay, now let me just zoom in a little bit. So as you can see here that the first block I have used is on event calculate click. Okay, now the meaning of this is that when I click on the calculate button, okay, so if I click on this down arrow, you can see these are the IDs of all the components that I have added to my application. So in this application, calculate is the ID of the calculate button. So let's go and see. So if I go to the design view and I just hover my mouse over it, you can see that the ID of this button is calculate. Okay. And how can you change the ID? You just click on the component, and then you go to the ID part, and this is where you can assign the IDs to your components. Now in my every video, I'm emphasizing this point so much that you should always use proper IDs for the components in your application. And the reason is that when you go to the coding part, just by looking at the ID of that component, you will be able to understand that what component you are talking about, and there will be no confusion. So if you are using the default IDs like label 1, label 2, label 3, and so on, so while you are in the code window, it's going to get very confusing for you if you have not given the IDs to your components properly. Okay, so we should give the IDs to our component so that just by looking at the name, I can understand that which component I'm talking about. Okay, so that's why giving proper ID names are very important in any application design. Okay, let's go back to the code window now. So on event calculate, click, and where can you find this method? This is over here. Okay, so if I bring it inside, you can see I have another on event. Okay, so in this manner you can add as many on event blocks as you want. Then after that, I have another block which is where build amount is equal to. So you go to the variables category, and this is from where you can drag this block where x equal to 0, and then you can just type the name of the variable or whatever name you want. But one thing you should keep in mind while using the variables, that you cannot give a space in the variable name. So for example, I wanted to name my variable as build amount. So I cannot name my variable like this, build space amount. No, this is not going to work. If you name your variables in this manner, you can see it is already giving me an error message here. Okay, so what I need to do is that I have to just say build underscore amount. So if I want to separate the two words in my variable name, we can separate it with underscore, we can separate it with a dash or the hyphen symbol, but we cannot give a blank space. Okay, so that is something to keep in mind while using the variables. Okay, so then I have the where build amount is equal to get number build amount text. So why I'm doing this? Because I need the value from this text box, because I need to do arithmetic calculations on the value which will be given by the user in this text box. So I'm getting that number. Get number means get the number from where, and again I have to choose the ID of the text box, which in my case is build amount text box. Okay, so what this block is going to do, it will take the value which is inside the text box, and then that value will be stored inside this variable which is build amount. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here. Then similarly, I have another variable tip percent, into which I'm getting the value of the tip percentage given by the user. So here I'm giving my total build amount, and here I'm giving that how much percentage of the tip I want to give away. So that's the second value. And now finally we have to calculate the amount of the tip that we want to give. So there is this third variable where tip amount is equal to. Now in this formula, we are simply calculating the percentage amount, right? For example, what is 10% of 200,000? So the formula would be 200,000 multiplied by 10 divided by 100. And that is exactly what I am doing here. I am multiplying the build amount, which is coming from here, with the percentage of the tip that I want to give, which is coming from here, and then multiplying these two values, and then finally dividing by 100. So from where we are getting these blocks are available in the math category. Okay, so let me just show you very quickly how you can do this. So you have this variable tip amount is equal to, okay, so this is the one I want to get. Okay, and then I'm writing here tip amount is equal to, so the first thing I have to do is I need to bring one divide operator. So we go to the maths category, and this is what the divide operator is. So I just bring it here. After that, I add one multiply into this. Now you can see I have a composite block, and then I can just type the name of the variables here. That's it. So that is how you will get the amount of the tip that you need to pay. Finally, when this calculation is over and I already know how much tip I am going to give away, I have to show these two values to my user of the application, and the ID of this label in which I want to display this value is tip amount label. Okay, so what I'm doing here is set the text. So set text method is used to set the text inside a component, and that's what I'm doing here. Set text tip amount label is equal to tip amount. And what is this tip amount? This tip amount is the value that I have just calculated from this formula. So the value of the tip amount is going to be set inside this label, and then it will be visible to the user. Then in the second label, I have to show the total amount the user must pay, which is going to be the sum of the billed amount and the tip amount. And that is exactly what we are doing here. We are setting the text of total amount label. Which one is the total amount label? This one is the total amount label. So I am setting the text of this label equal to billed amount, which was entered by the user, and the tip amount, which we have just calculated. So the sum of these two values will be visible inside the total amount label. And this is it. We have calculated both the values. We have calculated the total tip amount also, and we have calculated the total payable amount also. Okay, so just run the application once more. So let me enter the billed amount as 150,000 rupiah. After that, I want to offer 15% as the tip amount, and as soon as I click on the calculate total amount button, both the values are in front of me. So I'm offering 22,500 rupiah as the tip, and the total amount of money that I need to take out from my pocket is 172,500 rupiah. And that's it. That's all about the tip calculator application. So just to revise what we have learned in this video, we learned how to use the variables, how to do the mathematical calculations by the help of math operator blocks, how to get the number or how to get the values from a text box, and then how to set the values inside a label. Okay, so that was a complete overview of the application that we have learned today. Okay, I hope the video has helped you and has taught you some new skills, and I will keep on adding new videos to this Code.org App Lab series, and will try to teach you the app designing. Happy coding. See you in the next video.